Right. All right. Larry, if you open us in prayer, we'll just go straight to the math.
Lord, I want to thank you. I would truth. John 16.
Right.
Golly. Sit.
She can go. So Matthew 17, right? Okay, so we all read it. So what I'll do is continue to do what we usually do is I'll break it down into sections unless we need to go verse by verse. It's not like I don't want to rush y'all to where we're skipping over a lot of stuff to where you don't understand it. Y'all, did y'all get a good understanding of 17, or are we gonna have to like slow down and go verse by verse?
I didn't think it was real bad. I didn't think it was too bad. Still, I mean, like, yeah.
So there's a lot going on. Just in the very first part of chapter 17, you have the transfiguration of Jesus. That alone could take days, months to completely get it, right? And after 6 days, Jesus taketh Peter, James, John, his brother, and bringeth him up into a high mountain apart. So just in the first verse, you see that Jesus had his disciples, his apostles with him, but he took 3 individual people apart, right?
Yeah.
So why do y'all think that was? Why do you think it was that Peter, James, and John? A lot of people say that it is his inner circle,
Yeah. Most closest.
the closest to him. James and John being who? What did they refer to them as? And what point?
Thunder.
The sons of thunder. Yeah. Because of their temper. To protect Jesus, right? And was transfigured before them, and his face did shine as the sun, and his raiment was white as the light. And behold, there appeared unto them Moses and Elias talking with them. And answered Peter and said to Jesus, Lord, it is good for us to be here. If thou wilt, let us make here 3 tabernacles, one for thee, one for Moses, and one for Elias, which we know as Elijah. While he yet spake, behold, a bright cloud overshadowed them, and behold, a voice came out of the cloud, which said, This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Hear ye him. And when the disciples heard it, they fell on their face and were sore afraid. And what I take that is they're asking Jesus that, it's good for us. If it's good for us to be here, we'd like to build 3 tabernacles, which we know is like the tent that they built in the wilderness in the Exodus, right? We want to build 3 tabernacles to you, Moses, and Elijah. And then God appears in a cloud and his voice and basically says, it's Jesus' time to talk. Be quiet and listen. And Jesus came and touched them and said, Arise and be not afraid. And when they had lifted up their eyes, they saw no man save Jesus only. So they initially see Jesus, Moses, and Elijah. And then when they heard the voice of God, they closed their eyes, but when they hid their face, but when they lifted up their eyes again, Jesus was the only one there. And then when they come down from the mountain, Jesus says, don't tell anybody what you saw until after the resurrection. Now, as like when we first started Bible studies and stuff like that, I told you to run. When you come across a word that you don't know, you stop and look it up. So, does everybody know what transfigured means?
Yes.
Okay, what does that mean?
It means, it means that Jesus, the divine word, was revealed. Hold on. Jesus revealed himself and who he truly was, and it described his face and his white clothes.
Jesus showed Peter, James, and John who he was, and that he was able to speak with Moses and Elias. Now, this event of the Transfiguration is in Mark and Luke. Slightly different. Not different because they contradict one another, but different in that if you take 4 eyewitness statements, they're all going to be slightly different, but mean the same thing or say the same thing. And that's how the Gospels are, and that's how you know that they're more legitimate. Now, if they were verbatim, word for word each, I would be suspicious of that, right? But they're not. So you see Jesus transfigured in front of Peter, James, and John, and in one of the, I think it's Mark or in Luke, where Jesus says, there will be some here among you that don't taste death until the coming of the Son of Man. Now, we know that in that crowd, Peter died, James died, Jesus died and was resurrected, and Moses died. That left John and Elijah. The Bible never says that John died, did it? The Bible just simply says he was exiled. Doesn't say anything else. And in the other Gospels, they ask about John, and the Lord says, if I choose to allow him to live until I come back, that's my business. Is what Jesus said. There's a good chance that John's somewhere. John could be one of the 2 witnesses. Elijah, he's not dead. Right? Are they in heaven? Or in, being simple bodies, they can't be in heaven, right? So where are they? Elijah and John could be out there. Now, it's very simplistic to think that, but Elijah and John could be out there walking around somewhere 4,000 years old. You know what I mean?
Even out here to this world that we're in now?
I don't know. Could be. It's God, right? And he can do what he wants. Or they could be in some other state. In a spiritual state somewhere. It's hard to say. The Bible doesn't say, so therefore, anything that I say is speculation, right? Like, it's just a guess. But the Bible never says that John died. Now, allegedly, disciples of John says that he died of old age. But how would they know that? They weren't on Patmos with him, right? So there's no proof that, and Jesus even said right then, if I allow, now Jesus didn't say he was going to allow him to live until he returns. But he said, if I choose to, it's my business, is what he said. So it's something to consider. John could be somewhere alive, maybe in a different state. It's hard, like I said, to speculate. But nothing in the Bible ever said John died. They tried to kill him. And his disciples asked him, why then say the scribes that Elias must first come? And Jesus answered and said unto them, Elias truly shall first come and restore all things. But I say unto you that Elias has come already, and they knew him not, but have done unto him whatsoever they listed. Likewise shall also the Son of Man suffer of them. Then the disciples understood that he spake unto them John the Baptist. So John the Baptist was the New Testament version of Elijah, if you will, right? And it could also mean that John was the forerunner of Christ, much at his first coming, right? When he comes and started his ministry. But Elijah will be the forerunner when he returns again, because the 2 witnesses are going to preach in the streets, and then they're going to be killed, and people are going to celebrate because all the things that are happening are going to be blamed for it. But then in 3 days, they're going to come back up and start preaching again. Yeah. And that truly will show people how powerless they are. Against God. Now, the next section is about the powerless disciples versus the mighty Christ. So in these few verses, they can't cast out a demon. They come to Jesus, and Jesus says, "O faithless and perverse generation, how long shall I be with you? How long shall I suffer you? Bring him hither to me." So Jesus has already told them and instructed them what to do. They come to him and said it ain't working, that the demon's not coming out, right? But it's not listening to us. And Jesus looks at him and was like, I mean, how much longer do I have to put up with you? None of you can listen. You're faithless. And Jesus rebuked the devil, and he departed out of him, and the child was cured from that very hour. Then came the disciples to Jesus apart and said, "Why couldn't we do it?" Because of your unbelief. So when you pray, if you're praying to ask for something, but in your mind you're thinking, this ain't going to be good, just stop, right? Your unbelief isn't going to be rewarded. Verse 21, howbeit this kind goeth not out but by prayer and fasting. He's given them instructions on how to get rid of that demon. He tells them, this kind, which tells you what? There are different kinds. There are different things that you do for each kind. But this kind, probably stronger than the others, because they have a hierarchy, can only be rebuked with prayer and fasting. Now, somebody get on your phone and look up the NIV, chapter 17, and look through and see what it says on verse 21. Yeah. No, and
It's
the NIV. Joshua is.
Oh, okay.
The NIV, not the Bible you're looking at, the NIV.
I've heard that people, say that is the way you can, be healed, fasting, prayer. Like it's a good,
Yeah, well,
They say a lot of the things saying about this person,
that's exactly what I'm getting ready to show you.
What chapter or which verse 20?
They need to be more big.
verse 21,
20 or 21?
21.
Josh, you found it yet?
Oh,
Oh, yours is. Prayer and fasting. Yeah, that is a way if you're serious about something, right? There's rules to it. So when it says to pray and fast, like if you're serious about what you're asking for, and you're willing to go and fast for it.
it says it's not on there.
Right.
It's not in there,
Look at that. It's an entire verse of the Bible that they've removed.
because they don't want to make them.
Yeah, he kept saying, oh, the manuscript is 21. Verse 1. I'm like, well, I know it don't say that.
Verse 21 of Matthew chapter 17 in the New International Version, among the rest of them, have been removed. Why? Do you see the problem with that?
Because they don't want to tell you how to serve the Lord.
It is removing God's instruction on how to remove evil, how to get rid of this demon that was in this child, or this, They are taking that out, because if they take that out, then you don't know how to get rid of it, because they took it out. They took the entire verse out. There's plenty of verses. I think it was like 50 some that they have removed. Complete. Just like that one. Howbeit this kind goeth not out but by prayer and fasting. So if you read the NIV, the New King James Version, ESV, CSB, all the other ones, what you see is the disciples come and say, Jesus, we can't do it. But Jesus does it. But then you have no idea how he did it. It doesn't say. That's the problem, is this tells you how, prayer and fasting. But they take that out, so you have no idea. That is a gigantic problem, and that is why a lot of people can't understand it. They just simply can't get past the fact that it matters. Because it does. Now, I don't think you go to hell for reading a different version of the Bible. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that it's you need to know these things. Because like I said, it is very important that I called your attention to that, because demon, they can't solve the problem. Jesus solves it and then never tells them how to do it. If we're reading the NIV or all the other versions.
It misleads you.
Well, it removes instructions.
Yeah.
That's demonic. Right? And that's not the only verse. You can look up every single verse that's been removed. Right? And so when it comes to the manuscripts that the King James Bible was taken from, a lot of people will say that they're neither the oldest nor the best manuscripts, right? And they say that the Codex Vaticanus, which is the Catholic Bible, is the oldest Bible. And that's for some of the manuscripts. So the newer versions claim that they use the Codex Vaticanus and some manuscripts that were found burning in a trash can in the middle of this mountain that this guy just happened to climb these stairs and find and somehow save them. But that's it. That's all the information you're given. That is the manuscripts that were used to write these other versions. But if you, I know the college offers a class about the Textus Receptus, which is where the King James Bible was taken from and how it come about and its history. But anyway, moving on. So that's the problem, is that entire verse taken out. And it's kind of important, right? Like if you're trying to disarm an explosive, it's basically saying, okay, I tried this before, it didn't stop the little blinking light. And then Jesus is like, well, this is how you do it. End of the chapter.
Yeah.
Well, how do you do it? Right?
Yeah.
Jesus again foretells his death and resurrection. He shall be traded into the hands of men, and they shall kill him. The third day shall be raised again, and they were exceeding sorry. That showed lack of what? Faith. They were sad because he said he was gonna die, which naturally they should be, but when he said he should be raised again, they were sorry because even though he'd shown them everything he had shown them. Miracle of the tribute money, and they come to Capernaum, they received tribute money. They that received tribute money came to Peter and said, does not your master pay tribute? He said, yes. And he comes to the house, Jesus prevented him, saying, what thinkest thou, Simon, of whom do the kings of earth take custom tribute? Of their own children or of strangers? And Peter saith unto them, or him, of strangers. Then the children are free, notwithstanding, lest we should offend them, go thou to the sea, cast the hook, take up the fish that first cometh up, and when thou hast opened his mouth, thou shalt find a piece of money. That take and give unto them for me and thee. One, Jesus knew there was a fish out there with money in its mouth. Two, Jesus was able to bring that fish straight to Peter. It's complete control of all things, right? Now, one of the things that you should pick up on is how did the Lord tell Peter to catch that fish?
Go out to the sea, cast your hook, and get their first
Cast your
one.
hook. So how is that different than how Peter normally
We use the net.
used the net? So Jesus was, I'm going to tell you how to fish completely out of what you're comfortable with. Use a hook.
And it was one individual fish, not many of them.
Right. One single fish.
Fish.
One fish. And then, so Peter didn't fish with a fishing rod, right? Which I don't think he meant that Peter had the Zebco 33 out there fishing. I think it's probably just a string that, however, I don't know. But Peter didn't fish with, that took faith.
Right.
If I told you, if you come to me and you're like, well, I need to pay my tithes. I'm like, okay. Go out behind the church, throw out a line with a hook on it, and then the first fish you catch is you'll have your tithe money in it. If you told me that, I'm like, yeah, you're completely insane, and I'm not coming to this church. Because the next thing you're gonna do is be dancing around with snakes. You know what I mean? That's how I would think. But just think if Peter actually went out and did it, went outside of his comfort zone to catch the fish.
Is this, at the end of this, is this talking about tithing?
It's
me,
talking about
and
tribute, yeah, like a tax. And they were collecting money for Jesus, right? They didn't recognize Jesus, right, for who he was, but for God. So why would Jesus have to pay tribute to himself? Right? But he did, so that teaches you a few things, right? Is that you should submit to the government, submit to the law, pay your bills, which we all have trouble with, right? But submit to the government. When is the only time that you should disobey governmental law?
When they go against God's law.
When it tries to supersede God's, right? So if they tell you it is illegal to go out and preach,
Do it anyway.
that law doesn't apply because it attempts to supersede, go above God's law. And that is one that you are required to preach because it's for God. Now, everything else, submit to the government. Jesus says it again in the temple where he says, give unto Caesar what is Caesar's, give to the Lord what is the Lord's. See, they were trying to catch Jesus up, right? So he said, notwithstanding lest we should offend them, we're just going to pay it anyway. And I think he was using it as to teach Peter several lessons. One being, submit to the government, do what they tell you to do, pay your bill, and have faith that I'll provide that money. Because they didn't walk around. Do you remember they didn't walk around with money, right? Now, chapter 18 goes on to the sermon on the child tax. And verily I say to you, except ye be converted and become as little children, ye shall not enter into the kingdom of heaven. Whosoever therefore shall humble himself as this little child, the same is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. So at the same time, in verse 1, the disciples came to the disciples of Jesus saying, who is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven? Why do they need to worry about that? Right? Why does it matter? So he told them, the faith of a child is required to be saved, right, or to enter the kingdom of heaven. The faith of a child. A child will jump off the roof of a building if they think you'll catch him. A child will run and jump in your arms no matter where they're at because they expect you to catch it. They don't even think nothing about it. You know, a child doesn't worry about what it's going to eat because it knows you're going to feed it. Right? So it's the same thing. Complete faith in God. Right? Complete trust in God. But whosoever offend one of these little children, these little ones which believe in me, it were better for him than a millstone were hanged about his neck, and that he were drowned in the depth of the sea. So it gives you specific dimensions of what a millstone is. It's pretty heavy. It's not gigantic. But it will drown you is what it means. In the depths, in the deepest part of the sea. Number verse 7, woe to the world because of offenses, for it must needs be that offenses come, but woe to that man by whom the offense cometh. Then we get into the woe be, wherefore if thy hand or foot offend thee, cut them off and cast it from thee. It is better for thee to enter into life halt or maimed, rather than having 2 hands or 2 feet to be cast into everlasting fire. Now, if there is any part of your life that is creating a problem or endangering you of dying and going to hell, remove it, right? And if thy eye offend thee, pluck it out and cast it from thee. It's better to enter into life with 1 eye rather than having 2 eyes to be cast into the lake of fire. So he's speaking in a way that says it's better if you can't control your eye moves, pop it out.
Yeah.
Right? Do you think that he physically
Not
means
physically.
to stab yourself in the eye? I think it means that if there is a part of your life you need to get rid of, if it is keeping you from serving God or from salvation, the lost sheep. For the Son of Man has come to save that which was lost. And this is in verse 11. Am I going too fast here? So y'all understand what it means when it says, if your hand or foot or eye offend thee, cut it out, right? So you get that. So the parable of the lost sheep, the seeking Lord. So we know that the entire reason he come is to save that which was lost. If a man have 100 sheep, will them go astray? Doth he not leave the 99 and go into the mountains and seek that which is gone astray? And if so be that he find it, verily I say unto you, he rejoiceth more of that sheep than of the 99 which went not astray. Even so, it is not the will of your Father which is in heaven that one of these little ones should perish. So here is an answer to a very common question that you will be asked. That is, you will be asked if you're talking to people about the Lord, right? So they're going to ask you, why does God send some people to hell, and why does others,
He doesn't.
God sends nobody to hell. Verse 14, even so, it is not the will of your Father which is in heaven that one of these little ones should perish. It's not his will. He's not doing it. We do it, right? So when somebody tells you, why does God send some people to hell? God sends nobody. It's not God's will that any should perish, right? Here's your answer. Discipline in the future, church. Moreover, if thy brother should trespass against thee, go and tell him his fault between thee and him alone. If he shall hear thee, thou hast gained thy brother, but if he will not hear thee. So what this is discipline in the church. So if thy brother shall trespass, if there's somebody in here that has done something to you in a church, you go to that person and you squash them. If that doesn't work, as a pastor, then the pastor, I'll go to somebody in the congregation and I'm like, look, you're causing problems. You need to chill out, whatever it is. That doesn't work, then to take a deacon and somebody else and go to the person and get a problem. And it says you gained your brother because you're not airing his business out in front of everybody immediately, right? But you're to take another person or another two people of the church with you to confront. If that don't work, then what's it say?
Do it from the pulpit.
And if he shall neglect to hear them, tell it unto the church. But if he neglect to hear the church, let him be unto thee as a heathen man and a publican. That means goodbye. Right? So he's telling you how to run the church. So you go, again, this is the problem between me and you, we need to fix it, right? Doesn't listen. You take your deacon. Hey man, you are still messing up. What is the problem? Still don't fix it. Then you do it in front of the church at the pulpit. If that doesn't fix it, then he just needs to move on about his business, right? So it's kind of crazy how the Lord is laying out directions for the church and how to handle things. Verily I say unto you, whatsoever you shall bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatsoever you shall loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. Again I say unto you, that if two of you shall agree on earth as touching anything that they shall ask, it shall be done for them of my Father which is in heaven. Promise of Christ's presence. For where two or three are gathered together in my name, there am I in the midst of them. So we know that if you are having a conversation with Kevin out here in the middle of the week, random, and y'all talk about the Lord.
It's church.
It's church. The Lord is there with you. The Lord doesn't require 1,000 members. The Lord doesn't require ushers and parking attendants and an airstrip and a coffee shop, a donut shop, all that other stuff that you find in churches. All that he requires is 2 or 3 people. You know, you can have church by yourself,
Mhm.
because are you ever alone?
No.
The Lord's with you. There's 2 people, right? And he's there. The law of forgiveness. How many times, if I sinned against you, Larry, should you forgive me? 7 times? And 7 times you think, okay, I don't have to forgive you. 70 times 7, right? That means you don't quit forgiving. Therefore, it is the kingdom of heaven likened to a certain king, which will take account of his servants. And when he had begun to reckon, one was brought unto him which owed 10,000 talents, which I believe is, I forget, it's 5 million or 50 million dollars. Something like 5,
Alex.
I think. But for as much he had not to pay, his Lord commanded him to be sold, his wife and children, and all that he had, and payment to be made. The servant therefore fell down and worshipped him, saying, Lord, have patience with me, and I will pay thee off. Then the Lord of that servant was moved with compassion and loosed him, and forgave him the debt. A debt he couldn't pay. Much like Jesus paid the debt that we couldn't pay. But for the forgiveness and the compassion of God. Now, that same servant goes out, and a man owes him, I think it was $5 or something similar. And he said, nope, you're paying me. And had him put in jail. So he was forgiven a debt astronomically greater than what he was owed, yet he wouldn't forgive it. What happened to him?
Yeah, put in jail.
Yep. The God that forgave him the debt, the king that forgave him the debt, said, how is it that I have forgave you for an amount way more than that, yet you couldn't forgive this guy? So therefore I reinstate, right, your debt that you owe. And you're going to be in jail for a long time for $5 million. I mean, now even, right? And so that's the point, is that you were forgiven a debt you couldn't pay, right? You were to forgive people. If somebody owes you money, well, sure, you want it back, but you forgive that debt, right? You allow them to move on because you were forgiven a debt. Show the same kindness to people that you were shown. The same compassion, the same forgiveness. You know, I sold a guy a bloodhound. To this day, he's still never paid me. I know who he is and where he's at. I think about it every time I see him. But
Was it that big dog the first time?
that redwood,
Yeah.
I think it's what it said. I don't remember. But I don't remember the dog's name, but I do remember he didn't pay for it. Now, did I go after it? No. Did I want to? Just out of principle? Yeah. But I didn't. Shouldst not thou also have had compassion on thy fellow servant, even as I had pity on thee? And his Lord was wroth and delivered him to the tormentors till he should pay all that was due. So likewise shall my heavenly Father do also unto you, if you from your hearts forgive not every one his brother in their trespasses. What makes you think the Lord shall forgive you if you can't forgive other people? What makes you different or better? In God's eyes, it don't. Why should God forgive you if you can't forgive anybody else, right? That is chapter 18, so we made it through 2 chapters. Now, is there anything in any of that y'all don't understand, y'all have a problem with? That we need to go back or that you would like to go back and cover? You realize the importance of the transfiguration, right? The forgiveness that you're supposed to show, the faith, the fact that you're supposed to pay your debts. and have faith in God when he tells you to do something that you're not used to. How, if there's something in your life, to remove it, if it's keeping you from heaven.
That can go as far as like anybody, like people, like the people that you're around that you associate with, if they're gonna keep you from heaven or having anything to do with like your walk with God. you need to get rid of
Right.
them. That's what I do.
So one thing I think y'all should do is go through Matthew and try to write down everywhere that it says Jesus traveled, and then find it on a map.
What's this name?
Yeah, really.
Because that's in our
Like-
fence.
Go fence, like go
Go
there,
There,
go there.
Generally, it's going to mean what you think it does. Just like ye, thou, thee.
you,
It's different. Singular and plural type.
Yeah, I thought it was now.
this is there,
Thence is there, like go thence, or thither,
thither, thither,
Thithe.
thither, thither, that's terrible.
So, no questions.
Hither is here.
Joshua, yes.
How come Jesus told Peter to forgive him 7 times 7? You understand the concept of that?
Why specifically that number?
Yeah, why?
Well, I think what Jesus was telling me, how many times should we forgive our brother? 7 times. Jesus says 70 times 7. That means,
What's 400?
basically, in essence, don't stop forgiving. You forgive them every time. That's what that means. Now, why he chose 70 times 7, I think, is a lot to do with the number 7. Right? Right. But, yeah, the Lord, I think, is telling him, don't worry about it, just forgive.
Why didn't you just say forgive them? Like, it doesn't matter how much they fall.
Right. Browning and I were talking about, like, some of the things about the Bible that is not included, or we wish that were in there, but that's in our mind, our thing.
Yeah. Guys.
Yeah, his thinking is above ours.
Yeah.
His ways are not our ways. We're never going to be able to understand. All these questions you need to write down, so when you go to heaven, you're like, Lord, I have a question or two. You have time. He's like, sure. You just roll them out. Like, what is the purpose of the planets in the universe? Why are all the other galaxies out there? What does that mean? What is it for? Yeah. Why do we need all these galaxies who each have planets? Billions. There's a reason God has for it. What is it? Is there people out there floating around? That's one of my questions. You know, now, as science progresses, they are starting to, the universe is starting to move in a way that is proven to them that the Big Bang can't be accurate, right?
It's just stupid at the beginning.
Right? So, how do they explain that? And they tell you you're silly and uneducated and stupid because you believe in creationism, right? That God created it. But you know what they're saying? Well, the reason it's acting the way it is because of dark matter. What is dark matter? You can't see it, but it's there, trust us. So we're stupid for believing in a God that created the universe, but you're telling us to believe in something we can't see? Right? Why would anything come from nothing? What is the purpose? Why did the universe need to exist? And then it's, to me, the Big Bang, which is a chaotic explosion, right? It'd be like bricks and 2x4s and whatever, you need to build a house. You put it all up on a top of a pile of dynamite, blow it up, and then when the smoke clears, you got a house. It's not how explosions work. Right. There's too many things that are balanced mathematically in the universe.
It tells you in Genesis 1:2,
Yeah.
the world was without void and form.
Yeah.
It
So,
was darkness.
When the planets move, that's how astronauts and NASA and whoever else is able to determine a trajectory for a spacecraft, right? Based on propulsion, I guess is what you would say, away from gravity. A time, a specific time, a specific day, because the universe moves in such a way that it is what? Predictable, right? That is how you have seasons and days. That is how you have, it is predictable. Chaos is not predictable, right? You have any other questions about that? Chapter 17 and 18. Now, here soon, I don't know what'll be next, but I think y'all are really gonna like the Laminin message.
The layman.
L-A-N-I-N. Don't be Googling it either, Christie, because you'll cheat.
You should have told him how to spell it.
Very interesting. L-A-M-I-N-I-N. Christie, oh,
L-A-M-I-N.
L-A-M-I-N-I-N.
Don't pull it up. You're gonna mess up the whole thing. L-A-M.
I was just gonna show you a little video.
I-N.
It's 5 minutes. It's very exciting for me.
Get down, Joey.
Is it a person?
No.
You'll see. What's that?
This happens because there is no dimension in Israel.
I hate the
There's
internet.
a statement. If you don't know that
These
there
commercials
are
are
all
terrible.
sorts of dimensions in the Bible, you should read the scriptures again. I only recommend this biblically based.
Because that's definitely not AI, right?
Oh, yeah, I am.
Long story short, the tour was winding down. Last time around, we were in Tyler, Texas. The night was over. A guy walks up to me. I wish I could tell you the whole story. It was so of God. Introduces himself to me. Says, "How are you doing? I just want to say hello." I said, "It's nice to meet you." He says, "You guys winding the tour down? Where are you going to go from here?" I said, "Well, I'm on my way back home to Atlanta, Georgia." He said, "Well, what's next for you?" I said, "I'm going to be preaching the next 2 Sundays for my pastor back in Atlanta." He said, "Oh, cool. What are you preaching on?" I said, "Well, the series is on the glory of God in the human body." He said, "That's really amazing. I'm a molecular biologist at the university down the road. Give me your talk." And I was like, oh, wow, I wasn't quite yet ready to unload the talk for a molecular biologist. So I kind of stumbled through what I had, and he's kind of being kind and gracious and like, that's good. And then he says, "Well, what's your big left hook? You got to have a left hook, a big finish, right?" I said, "I don't have a left hook yet." He said, "Oh, Louis. Oh, man, your left hook is laminin." And I'm totally blank on laminin. He goes, "Louis, it's a cell adhesion molecule. Protein molecule? Do you know about proteins?" I'm like, "No." He said, "Louis, cells organize into certain molecular structures, and that determines what protein there are. There are between 10 and 60,000 proteins in the human body. We don't even know how many proteins are in the human body. But one of them is a cell adhesion molecule. It's organized into this certain structure, and that tells the cell what its job is in the body. And this one is a cell adhesion molecule." I'm like, All right. He said, no, Louis, it's like the rebar of the human body. The steel they put in the concrete when they lay the foundations of things, it's that stuff. It's holding your membranes together. It's the glue of the human body, Louis. It's laminin. You got to tell them about laminin. And I'm like, I promise you, I'm going home and tell them about laminin. And I'm sure when I do, revival is going to sweep across the church and probably around the world when I tell them. He said, no. You got to see laminin. I'm like, okay, let's see it. He said, no. You need to go look it up online. You need to go Google laminin. I don't even know how to spell laminin. He takes his card out. He writes on the back, Laminin. I'm like, okay, I cannot wait to get to my computer and get on Google, click on images, type in laminin, and I'm waiting, and these little thumbnails come up on the screen, and I'm like, wow, that's laminin? The cell adhesion molecule. Woo! I am so excited. I am beside myself. I cannot believe what I'm seeing. I love laminin. I'm so fired up. You should see laminin, I guess. That's the thing, right? Okay. Here is a scientific diagram of the laminin cell adhesion molecule that's holding your body together right now. Okay, this is what I found right here. No, come on, that's crazy. That's just crazy. I emailed that guy back so fast, I'm like, wow, what in the world? He said, you want to see an actual laminin molecule? I'm like, oh no, man, the diagram is cool for me. I'm happy with that. Don't bother sending anything else. I'm like, yes! He sends me this image, an electron microscopic image of an actual laminin protein molecule. It looks just like this. Like, how crazy is that? That the stuff that holds our bodies together, that's holding the lining of your organs together, holding your skin on, is in the perfect shape of the cross of our Lord Jesus Christ. And immediately I'm thinking about the words of Paul in Colossians 1. You know this beautiful passage where Paul's talking about the supremacy of Christ and the sufficiency of Christ. He says, for by him, talking about Jesus Christ, all things have been created. Things in heaven and things on earth. All things were created by Jesus and for Jesus. But then the next verse goes on to say this. It's crazy. And he, Jesus, is before all things. And in him, that is, in Jesus Christ, all things hold together. That's right. It's right there. I'm like, of course they do. Of course they do. Everything holds together in Jesus Christ. And he goes on at the end of this paragraph, and he just tells the story of grace. He says, for God was pleased to have all his fullness dwell in Christ, and through Christ to reconcile to himself all things by making peace through his blood shed on a cross.
Every St. Jude patient deserves a chance to live their best life.
So that's laminin.
That is neat.
That's something. All right. Anybody? Anything? Joshua loves laminin. Okay. Yeah, a lot of people have, but you don't remember the name because it's, different. But all right, so that's all. So I will call you tomorrow when I get here, and hopefully they're still able to make it. If not, I'll let you know. Yeah. And then that'll be, I don't know what time, but All right. Larry, you want to dismiss us? And
Lord, I want to thank you every time. Every time. That's every day.